bigger. I hope it spoke out loud to you. I hope it, we all live in this town and we have a version of what goes on here and what we think we know about movies, and we probably know a lot about movies, but this was designed to pull the curtain back on a lot of things. I hope it spoke out loud to you, and like most of the things I do, there's like 5 more of these making ofs, but they're for you, and again, they're unflinching look at what we do. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Kevin, this is something I've always appreciated about you, is that you do pull the curtain back. I remember seeing on the Open Range DVD, you had a great making of documentary. And so you've got this book, you're making these documentaries. A lot of filmmakers are very protective and secretive about their process. Why do you sort of expose yourself and let this stuff all out there for all of us to see?
Because it's fun. And there's a mystery around people who don't know what it is. When you come on my set, I let people come and actually be fairly close to me by the monitors, because it's fun. The easiest thing for me to do is to freeze people out and go, ooh, the genius is at work. Genius? What? You know what I mean? You can make people feel intimidated. He's now doing his thing. Everybody stay back. But it's fun to let people in. If they don't behave around the monitor, if they're loud, if they're talking, then they have to go somewhere. I mean, like in everything in life, there's got to be manners, right? So when guests come on my set, I think I let their children sit in my chair. Why not? I mean, really, why not? It's a moment, it's a time. So I love the business. I love that I get to do it. I love to be able to share it. And people are supposed to intuitively know what their place is when I allow them to come close. That's all I can think of. It's a wonderful thing to see.
And it must be said, though, too, when I was brought onto this project, you never know when you work on something at this scale with an all-star cast and crew, if you're really going to have that blue chip access to tell the truth, or when things get going difficult or things aren't as bright and shiny, you're going to kind of like, hey, don't film right now. But I have to say, like, what you just saw and what you will see is raw every single day. I'm right there in the mix, never being pushed back. So just to add to that point, it's not just having a filmmaker there to tell a story. He gave me the reins to tell the story how I see it, the real story of Horizon.
Well, Cale, tell me a little bit about how this book evolved. I mean, what was your role initially, just coming on to the movie and on the set, and then where did the idea come from to put out a book?
Originally, I was hired to come and shoot a documentary, and I've worked with Kevin and his team over the years, and so they're aware of my photography, but that's not why I was hired to begin with. But the time and space was there for that opportunity, and as I said, Kevin kind of just gave me the reins. He invited me to his playground and said, go play, go have fun. And so I did my best starting out, tread carefully, tread lightly, just make sure I'm staying out of the way. And they, you want to talk about being empowered as an artist to come onto a set like that and say, here are the keys. And so we started putting these photos together, and then Kevin, along with his producing partner Gilly, just said, think we have something special here, we should do a book. And then, a couple years later, here we are.
Well, it's one thing for Kevin to be willing to open up his process to everybody, but this is a movie where you've got a lot of other crew people, a lot of other actors, all that kind of stuff. I mean, do you have to have conversations with your collaborators and say, Cale's going to be here, he's going to get everything you're doing? Is there anyone who sort of puts a wall up about that?
Well, I think everybody's a little bit different. You got to be respectful of space. I'll look at some actor and I'll say, he's with us. Okay, he's one of us. But there's moments where I ask Cale to step back. Is this just a step back, Cale? Give me a chance. I don't think Cale believed me at first when I said he could be anywhere, everywhere. But I should have said, not all the time. Those not all the times weren't very much. They just really weren't. Because there's a moment when I see maybe one of my actors struggling or something, and it's like, And so there's a rhythm that you have in life. It's not anything special. It's just kind of intuitive respect. That's all.
Well, talk a little bit about shooting this on location in Utah. I mean, we saw from the documentary, obviously you get gorgeous effects from shooting there, but it also looks like you were battling the elements like crazy. I mean, what were the pleasures and what were the challenges of shooting on location there?
Well, let me just say this. And there's some people that have heard us now talk about this movie, so there's going to be a level of redundancy. So I'm trying to compare what we were able to do in this documentary that you saw. Dances with Wolves was shot on 106 days. This movie is arguably bigger, and there's 3 more coming. This movie was shot in 52 days. And that meant a lot of my department heads, people, this work that you admired, we're all fighting. There wasn't time for anyone, and yet they came up with this movie. It just shows you what a group of professionals can do. Well, a lot of times people want money. They want more money. I want more time. And people weren't indulged, and the actors weren't indulged, but they were gifted with a script that spoke out loud to them, that will allow them to live forever. These people that decide to make costumes and all the different things. When the circus comes to town, God, there's a lot of us. And the idea is that their work will stand forever. And so let's just quit complaining. We understand what's going on. Let's make a movie. So this movie stands. I'm not saying this movie is better than any other movie this year. I'm just saying I don't know of a movie that's better than ours.
Just to add to the difficulty there, I mean, we, just like the cover, in that picture right there, they're standing in mud, it's single digits, we're at elevation. I'm looking at some of our crew that is like, going through it right now, just reliving those moments. But we're at elevation, as I said, and everyone there knows they're working on something special, right? And it starts from the top down. Everyone there believes in what we're doing. So we did a full 100-degree swing from single digits actors jumping in frozen water that we have to break the ice for to 120-degree weather in the desert, getting sandblasted, as you saw at the end of the documentary, having 70 miles an hour of dust in your face, but no one complained about it. Everyone just kind of grit their teeth because we were led by this guy.
Well, what kind of things did you learn watching Kevin direct and watching the making of this movie that might kind of inform your approach going forward as a filmmaker?
He's oddly more patient than me, much more charming than I am as well. But I really think it's something that I've had to reflect on personally as someone, as I said earlier, gave me the keys. Someone that's been working on this, and it, for 30 plus years. And it is their baby, and they prepare you as much as they can, and it really does trickle down. When I see how involved Kevin is in everything, like truly, it gives me confidence in what I'm doing. And if he is handing me the keys, it's because he's trusted me to study up, prepare myself, and meet the moment. And so, as I said, with these challenges, he brings in an all-star cast of actors and crew that also come with this preparedness and that excitement to meet the moment, and that's why we get what we have.
Yeah, well, I mean, this movie has top-notch work across the board in terms of the crafts. When you think about the cinematographer, the composer, the editor, I mean, these people are all just incredible work. Kevin, when you assemble a team like that, what are the first things you tell them in terms of kind of what the guiding principles of the movie are going to be and what they should be following?
Well, if you're able to see the second Beyond Horizon behind the scenes, you're going to actually see my first introduction to my entire crew. And it's kind of emblematic of that little period of time of COVID. I was communicating with them through little squares. Everybody was on Zoom. So I had 50 people on my screen, all giving me chin boogies. So, they were kind of going up in time. But the first thing I told them, besides letting them know I knew they had a lot of choices, they could be on a lot of different movies, the fact that they decided that they would be on this one meant something to me. But I let them know right away that this was going to be hard. It was hard for our ancestors, and it's going to be equally hard for us. And really what I needed from them was their very best work. Whatever they had learned to this point, I needed them to bring it to bear, because we're going to be out there by ourselves. And I didn't have any daisies. Everybody was ready to work as long as I wanted to. And so, you know, I feel lucky. I mean, movie people aren't like hardly any other group. I mean, you know really quickly if you're on the Serengeti, you know, you see the zebras and you see the lions, and then you see the movie people. We know who we are. We know how to live out of a suitcase in little hotels in different parts around the world. And we know how to go to work. And we know we start sometimes when it's dark, and sometimes we're coming home when it's dark. So I talk to them in a very real way, the same way I'm talking to you. My job is to break the ice. I've done things, but so what? They've done things too. We're together. I'm depending on them. They have to get over it if they're going, wow, I go, look, if your mom liked me, I can get over that, okay? Everybody's got to pass the mom test. So now let's get to work.
Well, in the documentary, you talk about how, you know, one of the dangers in filmmaking is all the people who are second guessing you. I'm curious if there's ever a danger of second guessing yourself when you're working so long on something you've been working on for decades, and there's so much pressure, and you've got everything on the line personally and artistically. Is there ever a danger of second guessing yourself, and how do you avoid that?
There is that thing. You'd be less than honest if you didn't. But what I had was an incredible script. And this library speaks to something that really is the core of Hollywood, which is writing. Writers are underestimated. They're made to feel like they're not, but nothing happens without great writing. I've always believed in that, and that's how I base my company. I go after the best writing. And so when I reach moments of doubt, they're really not about, I have something to fall back on, which is my Bible, which is my script. A lot of people go out there and start making it up. I do not do that. I'm very specific about how I work. That does not mean I don't allow for a window of opportunity to step into it. I call it a window of opportunity. If I get on in that set and it's not in the script and I see that this can make our movie better, I will step through it. I won't be so rigid and stay in that lane. But when I'm confused, I go right back to my script. I know what moved me a long time ago. I don't fall out of love with those ideas.
Well, before we open it up to the audience for a few questions, I've got to ask, because we're all big Horizon fans here, do you know when we're going to get to see Horizon Chapter 2? When is that coming out?
I don't know when, but I'm working every day to make that happen. I'm an independent filmmaker. I'm a bit of a unicorn in a business that I love so much. I don't know why that is exactly. I like to be around all the rest of the reindeer. But if no one wants to play with me, and I'm really in love with what it is I want to do, I will burn my ships to go do it. And that's what I continue to do. So when it comes to 2, it's going to come out. It's done, and it's beautiful. And for some critics who don't think I know where it's going, fucking know exactly where it's going. I didn't come out here to mislead you. I came out here to entertain you, to thrill you, to move you. My son's name is the lead character. He's the little 13-year-old boy that won't go down with his mother. He would rather stay with his father, and it was ultimately a fatal move. And that was my son, and his name is Hayes. And of course, my name and the character is that. But I'm pushing. I'm going to bring this to you, and then I'm going to go figure out how to get the money to make 3, and then I'll go figure out how to make 4. And everybody in this room, we're connected. You go to them, I'm going to make it for you. And I'm going to, I don't know why it is the way it is, but I know what I'm about, and that's what I need to be about.
you know, as a fan of yours and as a fan of the movie, I mean, I find it really inspiring how you've just put yourself on the line and made these great movies for us. I'm going to open it up to the audience for questions if anybody's got any. Yeah, and I'll repeat the question so everybody can hear it.
Kevin, we met a couple of years ago. I built the Apollo 11 monument. I met you in front of your house. I'm sure you remember.
You built the Apollo 11 monument?
Yes, I met you in front of your house and we chatted. You told me about the 17 Buffalo.
Okay, yes.
You remember?
Okay.
Would you be interested in, you're doing books, you're doing documentaries. What about a monument form of Horizon?
A monument for Horizon?
Yeah.
I tell you, it starts with this book. It starts with the legacy. You know, I don't think movies are just for the opening weekends. Once that's done, it's not mine anymore. And the measure of a movie will you watch it 5 years from now? Will you share it? Will you show your sweetheart? Will you show your son, your daughter, and say, this could have been your ancestors making this? Does this movie speak out loud to you? The movie is its own monument, so to speak. It stands, okay? That's why I protect it so fiercely in making it. That's why this is not a movie made by a committee. I like to think of movies as a patient that can't speak for itself. I have to. The script, it can't speak for itself, so I have to. So when people start to doubt it, I have to listen to them, but then I'm an advocate for the movie because that's how it will travel through time. And in this movie, there's little things that we all get the big things, but for each one of you, there's probably a little thing in Horizon that means something to you.
Yeah, up there in the back with that. Yep. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Costner, for sharing your time with us today and for being a beacon of creativity in a time when much of the rest of Hollywood is lost and edge that we've all been fun with. My question for you is, what themes and moral messages do you most like to be remembered for as a filmmaker?
The question is, what themes or moral messages do you want to be remembered for as a filmmaker?
I don't know. I don't know how I want to address that. But it's a fair question. It's thoughtful, and what you said, I heard the first part of what you said. I appreciate that you would say that and you would articulate it in front of your fellow reindeer. So here with everyone. But when I think of, I have a family. I have these children that I've raised, and it matters to me what they think, because I spent time away from them to make these movies. They understand who I am, and so they're as much a part of me being able to make my life. So this may run against the core of what you say, and I'm not trying to be contrary, but I think if you ever walked up to my headstone, because I'm going to leave this mortal coil, I'm going to not be here. But I'm so thankful if something happened to me tomorrow, at least I made 2 of them. And, but I guess if you were going to look at my headstone, what would I write on it? There'd be the dates, for sure, right? There'd be the name, there'd be the thing. But if I was going to find something that maybe meant something, my movies are long, so how would I even come up with a sentence? But I think if I wanted to leave a lasting thought to you or anybody that was standing there, that it said, and he made movies too. I want my life to be more than just movies.
Question is about how you envision the future of independent cinema.
Oh, I think there's people out there burning with stories and burning with ideas, and do not let people stop you. Go make your movie with your friends. Try to find a rich dentist, get his money too. witch doctor. You get out there and you make your movies, but you work on your script. Work on your script. Find the language, find the poetry, but go make your movie. And when you think this is your best work, guess what? Go make another one. Just, it's a calling, and it's a privilege to be able to do that. And no one can stop you. You can make a movie with your camera. No one can stop you.
Yeah, up there in the back. Oh, sorry. Sorry, we'll do him then you. Go ahead.
Is he talking behind his mask? Yeah. In most westerns, I'll say, "Stick him up, buddy."
He says, "Congratulations on the 40th anniversary of Silverado," which brings him to his question. He says, a lot of the characters you've played have been heroes, but how do you prepare when you're playing a villain like in 3,000 Miles to Graceland?
Listen, I think that the villains, if they're drawn correctly, they're not bad. They just don't think anybody understands their problems. Villains, when they're the best, they're not conveniences for the good guys to knock down. They need to be formidable. That's what we want to see in our movies, is a level of detail that we relate to. What does it matter if you beat up a buffoon or you do something? We want to see there needs to be an honesty. That's what I wanted to bring to Horizon. And when I started working on this with John Baird, who should be mentioned, so he's such an incredible writer. The Western is these gunfights. It is this thing. But every story that we started to write, women ran right down the center of every storyline in Horizon. Women are a dominant part of Horizon, and I couldn't be happier about it. No, but I didn't anticipate it being that way. But how could there possibly be a history without women? And so when you see it and you watch 1, 2, 3, and 4, you're going to see strong women, and you're going to see women who are abused, women who work themselves to death. It was just important for me in this first movie to see a woman who just felt so dirty she wanted to bathe. It's just important. It was important for water to just touch her body, and the better it felt, she wanted to touch herself more. She wanted more water, and she moved around the corner in the dark. And obviously, it was a mistake in the West over water. We're talking about someone was not aware that could cost her life. But the desire that a woman would need just to be clean is important to me to put in a movie as much as a gunfight. We want to see ourselves in the movies. For as phony as movies can be sometimes, I've learned how to be kind of the man that I'd like to be because of the movies. It doesn't mean I'm as brave as the characters I watch on screen or smart. But when I look at the screen when I was little, when I look at it now, I can tell who I want to be. I can tell in a critical situation how I wish I would act. And anybody that's so certain that they would have been heroic on D-Day or heroic in all these places, I'm suspectful of them. We don't know how we would be in critical situations, but in movies we get to see how we wish we could be. And so, the movies are important to me. I mean, I thought, our parents let us go to these places. For some reason, the movie theater was thought of as a safe place for us to go. It's the first place our parents let us go by ourselves. It's where we learned how we would kiss. It was where we learned how we would be heroic. We learned a lot in the movies.
Yes, then in the hat.
I could go on about 20 minutes to tell you how much I admire you.
What do you say?
He said he could go on for about 20 minutes about how much he admires you.
Oh, God.
So I admire Cale too.
He admires Cale as well. He admires Cale too.
I've been longing to hold this book, and I can't believe how impressive it is. And how beautiful photograph, page after page, is this thing. And I'm wondering, Cale, how did you edit it down? Did you work with Mr. Costner, or did you just...
I cried a lot. No, I mean, with this saga, of course, like scene after scene, set after set, with the backdrop of Utah. I mean, I could throw a rock in any direction, take a picture, and there's going to be cinematic picture on that page. But you want to talk about, again, talent across the board. So everyone comes to set being dressed, hair and makeup, the sets being built themselves, the prop masters who went all across America to get props that were period accurate. So everyone's coming to set, and I'm at the benefit of that. So I do my best to dig a little deeper with a story and articulate who these people are in the world that Kevin's built, and then what you have is in front of you, and taking the body of work and then shrinking it down, because most movies would do, I could easily do a book per movie, but we've squeezed 2 movies into a single book. So yes, there are a lot of images that are sitting on a hard drive, and I'm very sad, but I'm very grateful and honored to have this book that you all have.
All right, we're going to take one more question, and then we'll let these guys sign some books. Yes.
Kevin, I just wanted to say you're an incredible and amazing actor, and there are a lot of movies I love, like The Bodyguard. Oh, yeah. I've watched it so many times, and I could just watch it all over again. I absolutely love doing that movie, and you're an amazing actor and incredible actor.
Thank you, Will. You know, that was a good moment for me. It was a good moment for Whitney. You know, we'll miss her, and you know, I eulogized her and try to express. I didn't think I was the person to talk for her, but in fact, I didn't feel like I should be there. And oftentimes, when we lose somebody of that magnitude, the people that know her are rushing to the mic. You know, you can talk, and I just didn't feel like I wanted to do that. And I didn't realize the power of that movie, the way you speak about it. I didn't realize the connection that people had with Whitney and myself, her imaginary bodyguard. I did take care of Whitney, but that was my promise to her. But, you know, at her passing, for about a week, I didn't do anything. Pretty soon there was these rumblings. Well, why isn't he speaking about it? And I just said, I don't know. It's not my first instinct to go talk about something, and there's other people that could do it much better. So at a certain moment, I got this one call, and it was from Dionne Warwick. Oh. And her voice was broken. I could tell she was tired. She was having to put together this memorial. And she said, Kevin, and I said, yes, I'll do it. Before she could say that. And I hated myself the minute I said yes, because I began writing for 2 weeks, or for a week and a half, even off the plane, in the hotel room, in the limo all the way there. I even had the limo guy stop and pull over. What was I going to say about this woman? And so, you know, that was a unique moment for us. And I can tell you, you know, you do these scenes with her, and there's a kissing scene we had, and you know, I had to, kiss her, and I kissed her about 7 times in that scene, and it's about 7 takes of it. So I kissed her for every one of you guys, for every one of you, and then one time I kissed her for me. It was just me. So there you have it.
Well, I'm going to let you guys go so you can sign some books, but it's a beautiful movie, Kevin, and a beautiful book, Cale. So I appreciate you both coming out and taking the time to talk to us about it. So thanks, guys.